Nigel Farage has launched a series of accusations against the Labour Party, pointing to what he describes as a clear interference in American politics. The controversy arose after it was revealed that around 100 current and former Labour Party staff members are set to head to the U.S. to support Kamala Harris's campaign in key states such as North Carolina, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Farage not only questioned the ethics of this move, but also criticized the lack of transparency over who will fund these staffers' expenses, emphasizing that this could be a colossal mistake if Donald Trump emerges victorious in the election. This move by the Labour Party has been perceived as an unsolicited and risky intrusion into the internal affairs of the United States. Prominent Republicans, such as Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, have seized the opportunity to bolster their criticisms, describing the British party's support as further proof of why Americans should vote for Trump. Cotton was blunt in pointing out that this interference demonstrates desperation on the part of Harris's campaign and the Democratic administration. The controversy doesn't stop there. Farage also expressed concern over the potential impact on the UK-US bilateral relationship if Trump were to return to power. The Labour Party's stance, according to Farage, is a clear example of a lack of political prudence, as any misstep could lead to severe diplomatic repercussions. For its part, the Labour Party defended the decision, arguing that these volunteers will act independently, taking vacation time for their activities and covering their own expenses such as flights and car rentals. Despite this, criticism has not subsided. Farage's comments found resonance not only among American Republicans, but also among certain sectors of British politics, which view this foray into foreign affairs with suspicion. Additionally, former Trump advisor Sebastian Gorka joined in the criticism, calling this action total audacity and highlighting that Harris's campaign allowing this reflects a lack of political scruples. For Gorka, this move not only shows desperation, but also a disregard for the norms of foreign and electoral policy. Amid this controversy, the question remains whether these types of risky decisions will end up harming the very actors seeking to influence. Trust and international alliances are fragile, and any move suggesting intervention can be costly. Time will tell if this strategy is seen as well-intentioned support or as reckless political interference. Another issue that arises is the potential long-term effect of these actions on the public and political perception of the Labour Party in the UK. While some may see this effort as a display of solidarity with the US Democrats, others perceive it as a distraction from the country's internal priorities. For Farage, this is a clear sign that Starmer and his party's focus is misguided, risking their national leadership image. On an international level, this maneuver raises questions about the limits of political intervention between allied nations. The U.S. Federal Election Commission's regulations are clear that foreigners can volunteer, but with strict restrictions, such as not participating in strategic decisions or financing campaigns. The public perception of a foreign party actively involved in a national campaign could be interpreted as a violation of sovereignty, further fueling the debate on diplomatic relations. Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister of the UK, has also weighed in on the debate by showing her support for Trump on social media, anticipating that he will win the election. This stance has further deepened divisions among British leaders, reflecting polarization not only in the US but also in UK domestic politics. Truss's involvement could be seen as an attempt to align her image with the conservative faction and capitalize on any potential Trump victory. This episode illustrates how international and domestic politics intertwine in a context where a country's strategic decisions can have significant repercussions in another. The future impact of this controversial decision by the Labour Party could affect both its relationship with the US and the perception of its leadership at home, especially at a time when citizens demand clarity and focus on internal issues. The Labour Party has sparked new controversy with its recent agreement to deport migrants to the island of St. Helena, a remote British territory. Despite previously criticizing the deportation plan to Rwanda as immoral, Keir Starmer and his team have opted for a similar approach. Under the new arrangement, migrants arriving at the Chagos Islands, a British archipelago, will be sent to St. Helena, located over 5,000 miles away in the Atlantic Ocean, instead of processing their claims on the mainland. This move has been seen as a drastic shift in Starmer's immigration policy, generating a wave of criticism from those accusing him of hypocrisy and inconsistency. The plan allocates over £6 million for migrant care on St. Helena, sparking concern among local residents. The small community of fewer than 4,500 inhabitants fears that the arrival of migrants could disrupt their fragile social and economic structure, given that public services are already facing significant challenges. Criticism comes not only from political opposition, but also from scholars and activists who question the logic of the agreement. An expert in international relations noted that while the UK cedes sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius, the British territory of St. Helena is expected to bear the burden of migrants, which appears to be an inconsistent strategy. This measure has highlighted tensions regarding territorial management and the lack of consultation with the affected residents. The government has defended the agreement as a response to the crisis inherited from previous administrations, emphasizing the importance of protecting British borders. However, the lack of a public statement before the plan's approval has generated mistrust. Residents of St. Helena express feeling ignored and used as a bargaining chip in an agreement that prioritizes politics over their needs and local realities. The uncertainty about the plan's duration and the number of migrants that could be relocated remains a central concern for the islanders who face an uncertain future amid this political controversy. Keir Starmer's decision to implement a deportation plan to St. Helena has opened a new chapter of criticism against his leadership. Critics argue that this measure dangerously resembles the deportation plan to Rwanda, which he himself called completely wrong and immoral. The apparent inconsistency in his immigration policies has raised questions about his genuine commitment to human rights and exposed a vulnerability that his political opponents have been quick to exploit. The main issue with the agreement lies in the lack of consultation with the residents of St. Helena, who have expressed deep confusion and concern about the repercussions of receiving an influx of migrants. Andrew Turner, a local councillor, emphasized that the community is very small, with a tightly knit social fabric. Any drastic change in the population could negatively impact their economy, infrastructure, and local culture. Residents feel they have been sidelined in decisions that directly affect their lives. At the heart of the debate is the issue of the Chagos Islands' sovereignty. Although the UK has agreed to return sovereignty over the islands to Mauritius, it continues to use these territories as strategic points to deal with the migration crisis. This duality in British actions has been harshly criticized by academics who argue that political and strategic interests are taking precedence over human rights principles and responsibility toward its territories. On the other hand, the government has tried to justify its decision by claiming that this measure is an act of responsibility in response to a migration problem that, according to them, was inherited from previous administrations. However, critics have questioned the transparency and ethics of this policy, as the agreement was approved without a formal announcement from the Foreign Office and the local community was not consulted beforehand. Residents of St. Helena, concerned about the impact on their society, have voiced their fears that the island's limited resources may not be able to handle an increase in population, especially given the fragile infrastructure and existing public health issues.